with arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest living comedian, Chris Rock. Chris got slapped in the face at the Oscars by Will Smith, which was one of the craziest things I'd ever.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms, I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. Secret symbol of the Illuminati.
Two of comedy's boldest voices just stepped into the spotlight at the same time, and Hollywood did not see it coming. Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle weren't planning some big team-up, but when both of them started speaking out about Will Smith, their messages lined up in a way that shook the whole industry. This isn't just about the slap anymore. This is about what happens when two comedians who've already distanced themselves from Hollywood decide they're done playing along. And what they've hinted at about Will Smith. It goes way deeper than people expected. Before getting into their reactions, you have to understand who these men are. Jim Carrey once walked away from a massive $20 million payday because he refused to bend his values.
Celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating icons. Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with.
Dave Chappelle famously stepped back from a reported $50 million deal with Comedy Central after questioning where the industry was heading.
I wasn't walking away from the money. I was walking away from the circumstances with the newfound plateau.
These aren't random celebrities chasing headlines. They've both seen how the machine works from the inside. When voices like that speak up about Hollywood culture, people pay attention. And according to their commentary, something about that Oscars night didn't sit right with them. Let's rewind to March 27th, 2022, the 94th Academy Awards. Will Smith was on track for a huge career moment after years of box office dominance and praise for his role in King Richard. Everything looked set for a triumphant night. Then, Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, referencing G.I. Jane. What followed played out live in front of millions.
Wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
Will walked onto the stage, struck Chris Rock, returned to his seat, and shouted at him. The room froze. Viewers at home were stunned. Some thought it had to be scripted. Others realized very quickly that it wasn't. But here's the part that really sparked debate. Less than an hour later, Will Smith won Best Actor and received a standing ovation from much of the audience. That moment, the applause, became a turning point in the conversation. To some observers, it looked like Hollywood closing ranks around one of its biggest stars. And that reaction is what Jim Carrey later focused on. Just days after the ceremony, Jim appeared on CBS Mornings and didn't sugarcoat his feelings. He made it clear he was disturbed by the standing ovation and questioned what message it sent. His commentary wasn't just about Will, it was about the culture surrounding powerful figures in the industry.
What God is calling on me to do and be in this world.
That really felt like, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
And once Dave Chappelle added his own perspective in later stand-up shows, the conversation only grew louder. Jim didn't say he was shocked. He said he was not surprised, but sickened. And that right there set the tone. He called Hollywood spineless and questioned whether the industry even deserved to call itself the cool club anymore. That's heavy criticism coming from someone who's been inside that world for over 4 decades. Jim wasn't speaking as an outsider looking in. He was speaking as someone who knows how the system protects its most profitable stars. He even went further. Jim said that if he were in Chris Rock's position, he would have filed a lawsuit the very next morning for $200 million. Not $20 million, not $50 million, $200 million.
Carrey weighing in on Will Smith's Oscar controversy during a new interview with Gayle King for CBS Morning.
And gang.
Do you know, like that joke that Chris did? I remember when that movie came out.
He said this.
For Jim, that number wasn't random. It was about accountability. In his view, the moment things turned physical on live television, it crossed a serious line. He stressed that people can disagree, they can boo, they can walk out, but once it becomes physical, the consequences should be real. No special treatment, no exceptions. But Jim's take wasn't just legal, it was philosophical. Over the years, he's openly talked about fame, identity, and how celebrity personas can blur reality. In past interviews, he explained how the version of Jim Carrey the world knew was partly a performance, a character he played so long it almost consumed him.
The one thing, like people talk about depression all the time, the difference between depression and sadness is just, from happenstance, whatever happened or didn't happen for you. And depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me.
So when he looked at what happened that night, he seemed to view it through that lens. From Jim's perspective, Will Smith had built a powerful public image over decades. The positive movie star, the family man, the polished entertainer. A brand crafted carefully, film by film, appearance by appearance. So when that image was challenged publicly, Jim suggested the reaction may have been about more than just a joke. It may have felt like a threat to that carefully maintained persona, and when someone feels their identity is on the line, emotions can explode. Jim's commentary carried weight because he's spoken before about stepping away from Hollywood to reconnect with himself. He's described how fame can trap people inside roles they feel forced to protect. So when he analyzed Will's reaction, it sounded less like gossip and more like a psychological breakdown of what pressure can do. Then Dave Chappelle added his voice, and his angle hit differently.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd have announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. That insult is going to last a very long time.
If Jim brought the introspection, Dave brought the grounded reality check. Dave isn't new to questioning the industry. Back in 2005, at the height of Chappelle's show, he walked away from a reported $50 million deal and left the country for a while. At the time, he later suggested he wasn't comfortable with where things were heading behind the scenes. So when Dave speaks about Hollywood culture, people listen closely because he's already proven he's willing to step back from it all. Dave walked away back in 2005 because he felt the industry was shaping him into something he didn't recognize anymore. He later suggested he didn't like the direction things were going, so he stepped back completely. When he eventually returned to stand-up, he seemed sharper, more direct, and far less worried about Hollywood approval. So when the Oscars moment happened, people were watching closely, waiting to hear his take. His first public comments came during a show in Liverpool just weeks after the incident. Someone in the crowd brought it up, and Dave didn't dodge it.
Chris got slapped in the face at the Oscars by Will Smith, which was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. In fact, if you watch it live on television like I did, when it happened, I thought it was fake. I did, and I wasn't sure, so you know what I did? I waited, because I'm like you, I know Chris. I waited like 30, 40 minutes, and I called him on FaceTime, and he picked up. As soon as he picked up, he said, "You was the only nigga to answer the phone for." Apparently Obama and Oprah, everybody called this to see if everything's all right. And I thought it was fake. I didn't know, so I asked him, I go, well, he said, what? I said, did it hurt? And he said, yes, nigga, it hurt. And then I knew that it was real. And then, and only then, was I offended. And I wasn't just offended that he got slapped. That was only half of it. The real offensive part was that after he slapped him, Will just sat down and enjoyed the rest of his evening. It was crazy. The fuck is this? And then all year, I couldn't wait to see what he was going to say in his special about this slap. And I told him all year, but the night he taped his special, Chris was one of these guys that's crafty.
He said it looked like Will Smith was dealing with something deeper, something bigger than one joke. In Dave's view, the moment on stage wasn't random. It felt like pressure boiling over. But then he added something that really stood out. He said Hollywood helped build Will's image, and now it was reacting to the results of that same system. Dave compared it to Frankenstein's monster. You can't create something, polish it for decades, profit from it, and then act shocked when cracks appear. His point wasn't just about one night. He seemed to suggest that constant image management can wear anyone down.
To create material to try to make people laugh.
Oh, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll run down a checklist.
Yep.
All right, and I don't know who's directing, but you might want to put these things on the lower third.
Ooh, on the lower third?
Yeah.
Put it
somewhere
right
around here. There should be some,
oh man.
some words. Okay.
See, that's why you come to a master right there.
Yeah. You know, I know the lingo. The first thing I tell you is confidence is key. The reason you should be confident is primarily because you're Will Smith. Like it's not gonna go bad. No. Because I've been watching you for years. You're actually a funny dude. I've spoken to you before. You're a great conversationalist. And what else do you really need? All you need to do is pick the right to talk about.
Yeah.
So then number 2, pick the right to talk about. And the best advice I got ever doing comedy was from a comedian that was not particularly good, but the advice was very important to me. He said, you are one of these comedians that think you have to be funny all the time, and you don't.
When a public figure is expected to maintain perfection year after year, eventually something gives. Then came another unexpected twist. January 10th, 2023, the Golden Globes. Eddie Murphy was receiving the Cecil B. DeMille Award, and people knew he doesn't usually love award shows. During his speech, after thanking people and cracking jokes, he ended with a line that instantly made headlines. Pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth.
Will Smith's wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Better than anyone. And Chris is a genius comic that has been doing it for many, many decades.
The room reacted with that mix of laughter and tension you only get when a joke hits close to home. Days later, Dave brought up Eddie's comment during a show in San Francisco. He told the audience that the line wasn't just comedy, it carried a message. Pay your taxes meant handle your responsibilities. Mind your business meant don't insert yourself into drama. And the final line? That was the obvious callback. But Dave took it a step further. He suggested the deeper lesson was about authenticity, about not living inside a role so long that you forget who you really are. Dave even tied it back to his own experience, mentioning how networks once pushed him to lean into a certain version of himself for ratings and profit. His message seemed clear. When someone feels trapped inside a brand they've built, reactions can become bigger than the moment itself. Dave has said before that when he tried to break away and be authentic, the backlash was intense. Rumors flew. People questioned his sanity. Some even claimed he had completely fallen apart. From his perspective, the industry didn't like when he stepped out of the role they had built for him. The comparison people started drawing was clear. Both Dave and Will had been major Hollywood figures, but Dave chose to walk away before things consumed him. Will stayed inside the system, and now the consequences were playing out in public. What's interesting is that Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle never officially teamed up. No joint interviews, no projects together. Yet in the months after the Oscars moment, they were saying strikingly similar things.
You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
He said that
the Oscar goes to
Will Smith!
Because in late 2022, Jim spoke on a podcast about how Hollywood rewards performance over authenticity. He suggested the industry tells stars, play this version of yourself and we'll give you everything. But the price, according to Jim, can be your real identity. Around the same time, Dave was promoting a special and echoed that same theme. He talked about how fame can turn a person into a product. The more successful you become, the harder it can be to separate who you are from what you sell. Without directly coordinating, both men seem to diagnose the same issue. When someone lives as a brand for too long, even small public moments can feel massive. Then things took another turn in October 2023, when Jada Pinkett Smith promoted her memoir, Worthy. She revealed that she and Will had been separated since 2016. That disclosure caught a lot of people off guard. It meant that during the 2022 Oscars, their relationship was far more complicated than many viewers realized.
Oscar night 2022, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
He waited.
A violinist is suing Will Smith, claiming retaliation after he alleges that he was fired for reporting sexual harassment.
For some observers, that detail added a new layer to the conversation about image versus reality. Dave later referenced the revelation in a stand-up set, suggesting the situation felt layered and sad rather than simple. He implied that when public personas and private realities don't align, pressure builds. It wasn't framed as an attack, more like commentary on how maintaining an image for years can blur the lines between performance and truth. Both Jim and Dave have also touched on what they see as uneven accountability in the entertainment world. Jim mentioned in an interview that consequences can look very different depending on someone's status. His broader point wasn't just about one person. It was about how fame and influence can shape outcomes in unpredictable ways. And that bigger conversation about celebrity, power, and perception, that's what keeps this whole debate alive even now. A lot of people point to one major factor in all of this: box office power. Over his career, Will Smith generated billions in ticket sales. That kind of financial impact makes studios nervous about cutting ties too fast. When someone brings in that level of revenue, the response often shifts from punishment to damage control. That's the perception Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle seem to be highlighting. Dave has hinted before that when he walked away from a reported $50 million deal to protect his creative freedom, the backlash was swift. Rumors started. Narratives formed. He felt like an example was being made out of him for not playing along.
I don't want to leave any of my DNA in the film section.
Yeah. Jim, please don't make this any harder than it already is.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I see your lips moving, but there's a delay. Takes a long time for the sound to get this far.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless.
Meanwhile, after the Oscars incident, Will received a 10-year Academy ban and intense media coverage, but he remained free to continue his career. To critics of the system, that contrast raises eyebrows. Jim and Dave both appear to frame this as a broader industry pattern rather than a personal attack. From their perspective, Hollywood tends to protect its most bankable stars. The bigger the name, the more carefully situations are handled. And the standing ovation that night? For them, that was the loudest symbol of all. When Will accepted his award and much of the room stood up, some viewers saw support. Others saw the industry circling around one of its biggest investments. Jim later described that moment as deeply disappointing. He suggested it sent the message that profitability can outweigh principle. Dave has also implied that the applause reflected how business often comes first in entertainment. Their commentary seems less about one man and more about how fame and finances shape accountability. When billions are involved, responses may look different. Studios manage narratives, public relations teams step in. Careers are carefully stabilized. It's also important to remember that Chris Rock didn't immediately break down his perspective in detail. Nearly a year later, during his Netflix special Selective Outrage, he finally addressed the incident head-on. In that performance, Chris suggested the moment wasn't simply about a joke, it was layered with deeper personal tensions. That interpretation echoed what Jim and Dave had been hinting at. Sometimes public reactions are fueled by private struggles that the audience never fully sees. And that's what keeps this conversation alive. It's not just about one night on stage, it's about image, pressure, power, and how the entertainment machine handles all three when the spotlight gets uncomfortable. Chris Rock's response added another layer to the whole situation. He made it clear he wasn't going to sit down for a tearful interview tour or stretch the moment for sympathy. He kept it moving. But he did stress one key idea: words and physical actions are not the same thing. In his view, jokes may sting, but crossing into something physical changes everything. That distinction sits right at the heart of what Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle have been talking about. Both comedians have long defended the idea that comedy pushes buttons. It's built on uncomfortable observation sometimes. But once reactions turn physical, the conversation shifts from disagreement to something much heavier. For them, that line matters, because creative freedom depends on it. Just when public focus around Will Smith seemed to be cooling off, another situation surfaced in early 2025. A violinist who previously toured with him, Brian King Joseph, filed a lawsuit alleging harassment, retaliation, and wrongful termination. According to the legal complaint, Joseph claimed he returned to his hotel room during a Las Vegas stop and found unexpected personal items along with a handwritten note implying someone intended to return. He reported the situation to management and hotel security, and he alleges that shortly after, he was dismissed and accused of making it up. Will's legal team has firmly denied the allegations, calling them baseless and reckless. It's important to note that these are claims within an ongoing legal matter, not proven findings. Still, the timing brought renewed public scrutiny just as Will appeared to be rebuilding momentum.
Sometimes keeping it real can go horribly wrong. We gotta pick our spots. It's good to be real sometimes. It's good to be phony sometimes. Yes, I said it. Phony.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Darius heard the comment and had a simple choice to make. Ignore what the man had said and take Tanisha home, or stay at the party and keep it real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Dave hasn't publicly addressed the lawsuit directly, but in a recent stand-up set, he mentioned how public controversies sometimes encourage more stories to surface. Jim hasn't spoken on it either, though in a separate interview about personal growth, he reflected on how unresolved issues can create repeating patterns in people's lives. He didn't name anyone, but the broader theme echoed his earlier commentary about authenticity. As for career impact, the aftermath of the Oscars moment was complicated. Will resigned from the Academy and received a 10-year ban from attending its events. His film Emancipation, which had major financial backing, was released with limited promotion and received a muted response. Award season largely passed it by. Industry metrics also shifted. His Q score, a measure of public favorability, reportedly dropped significantly in the years following the incident. Projects that had been in development were paused, including a Netflix film titled Fast and Loose. One studio executive reportedly noted that the situation wasn't just about the moment itself, but how everything unfolded afterward. And that's what keeps this entire discussion going. It's not only about one night, it's about public image, accountability, industry protection, and how quickly fortunes can rise or shift when the spotlight turns intense. A lot of insiders focused on what happened after the on-stage moment. Will stayed at the ceremony, accepted his Oscar, gave an emotional speech without directly apologizing to Chris Rock in that moment, and later appeared at the Vanity Fair afterparty. Some in the industry reportedly felt that if he had been escorted out immediately, the fallout might have unfolded differently. Instead, the optics left people debating whether he should have continued celebrating that night. By early 2024, it was clear Will needed a strong professional rebound. His reputation had taken a hit, and studios seemed cautious. That's when Bad Boys Ride or Die entered the picture, the fourth installment in a franchise that dates back to 1995. Strategically, this was his safest bet. The Bad Boys series already had built-in audience loyalty, and Martin Lawrence's presence added balance. Sony moved ahead with a reported $100 million budget, releasing the film in June 2024. The movie opened solidly, though slightly below the previous installment. It performed respectably worldwide, but it didn't reach the peak numbers of Bad Boys for Life. Analysts noted that sequels with established fan bases tend to carry momentum on their own, which made it difficult to measure how much of the draw was nostalgia versus star power. The bigger industry question wasn't whether Will could succeed in a franchise, it was whether he could headline a major original film again. Reports suggested his representatives were actively exploring new opportunities before the release, hoping strong box office numbers would spark immediate announcements. But no major new standalone project was revealed right away. That silence spoke volumes about how cautiously studios were moving. So what exactly have Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle highlighted through their commentary? Their focus seems less about one event and more about the larger system. They've suggested that Hollywood builds powerful public images around stars, polished, marketable versions of real people. When those images crack, the industry's response can depend heavily on financial value. Jim has often discussed the psychological strain of living as a persona, hinting that when someone identifies too strongly with their public image, it can blur reality. Dave, on the other hand, has pointed to what he sees as uneven accountability, where some are pushed aside quickly while others are carefully shielded. Together, their perspectives paint a picture of an entertainment machine driven by branding, perception, and business calculations. And whether people agree or not, that broader debate about image versus authenticity is what continues to fuel conversations around Will Smith's career today. Jim and Dave's biggest point wasn't just about applause in a room, it was about what that applause represented. To them, the standing ovation looked less like personal support and more like the industry protecting a major investment. Their commentary painted a picture of a system where image is currency, performance is rewarded, and accountability can shift depending on someone's financial value. So, where does that leave Will Smith now? As of early 2026, he seems to be in a complicated middle ground. He's not erased from Hollywood. Bad Boys, Ride or Die proved there's still audience interest, especially within a familiar franchise. But he's also not operating with the same untouchable momentum he once had. Studios appear more cautious, projects move slower, conversations feel more measured. The more recent lawsuit added another layer of uncertainty. Regardless of how that legal situation ultimately unfolds, it brought renewed scrutiny at a sensitive time. Some people who were ready to move on from the Oscars moment started asking new questions. Others argue it's important to separate allegations from proven facts. Either way, the timing intensified public debate. Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle's perspectives stand out because both have first-hand experience navigating and stepping away from Hollywood's pressure. They aren't newcomers throwing random opinions into the mix. They're veterans who've questioned the system before. Their overlapping critiques forced a bigger conversation about branding, fame, and how the industry responds when carefully built images crack. But here's the uncomfortable twist. It's not just about Hollywood. Audiences play a role too. Fans embraced the larger-than-life persona for decades. The action hero, the charismatic star, the polished public figure. When that image faltered, reactions were intense because expectations were sky high. That disconnect between persona and person is what Jim and Dave seem to be highlighting. Will's story isn't finished. Careers in Hollywood have survived storms before. Whether this chapter becomes a temporary setback or a permanent shift remains unclear. What is clear is that the conversation now goes beyond one night. It's about how fame is built, protected, challenged, and sometimes reshaped under the brightest lights imaginable. What Will Smith chooses to do next will say everything about where his career is headed. The next script he signs, the next role he takes, the next public appearance, all of it matters now. But no matter what direction he goes, the conversation Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle sparked isn't disappearing anytime soon. The standing ovation happened. The questions about image versus reality are out there. The debate about accountability in Hollywood isn't going back in the box. Two legendary comedians stepped up and shared their perspective, and whether you agree with them or not, their words shifted the narrative. This stopped being just about one awards show moment. It became about fame, pressure, branding, power, and what really goes on behind the curtain in the entertainment world. Now I want to hear from you. Did Jim and Dave push it too far, or were they saying what others were afraid to say? Do you think Will Smith can fully rebuild his image, or has his legacy changed for good? And what does this entire situation reveal about how Hollywood operates behind closed doors? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into celebrity drama, industry secrets, and the stories behind the headlines, make sure you hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And check out the next video you see on your screen right now. It dives even deeper into another major Hollywood situation you won't want to miss. I'll see you in the next one.